I am joined by Blake Ricciuto, who is a bit of a cult icon of Australian football. Thanks for joining me, Blake.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
So you've had a bit of a crazy career so far. It started out at St George, where you broke into the first team at just 15. Did you find it hard to step up to men's senior football at such a young age?
To be honest, when I was 15, obviously, you just enjoy playing football, and you see that the first graders and you want to be like them and play like them. And I was obviously nervous. We had Nick Orlich who played at South Melbourne, in the NSL days as the coach, and he was a bit he was tough, but he was good for me. And I don't think I found it too hard, actually. I just remember those days as being enjoying it. Obviously nervous at the same time because you're a young lad and you're trying to break through. But yeah, I don't think it was too hard. You know what I mean? It was just like it was a kind of smooth transition. Obviously a little bit scared and nervous, but it was quite smooth.
You then moved to Uruguay after a successful trial at Danubio, but the deal fell through, a couple of days later. What happened there?
Yeah, so after my time at St George, I was at St George for about 3 years, and then I went to Uruguay just to trial and see how I'd go. And yeah, I was at Danubio, and I was there for 3 months trialing and doing really well with the reserves. So that would be like, obviously the one in the first grade. And one day, I was doing really well playing, and the coaches both pulled me aside and said, "Look, we're happy, we're going to sign you." And I was, very, emotional. I was happy. And so we started getting all the paperwork done, getting my medical done. And the day after my medical, I went back to training and they said, "Look, we're sorry to tell you that we can't sign you." I said, "Why?" And apparently the person that got me the trial, that, I'd never met the person because it was all over a phone call. He said, a friend of a friend said, "Oh, I'll get you a trial at the normal." I said, "Okay." But that person was having a bit of a fight with the head of football at Danubio. So they kind of just said that, we're not taking, because he was an agent sort of thing. And they said, "Oh, we're not signing any players from this agent." But really, I wasn't his player. It was just a phone call, but they had the idea that I was his player. So, but at the end of the day, it fell through, and which was a shame. But, better things were to come. So, yeah.
As you said, better things were to come. After that disappointment, you signed with Penarol. What was it like to be at such a massive club?
Yeah, to be honest, it still gives me a bit of goosebumps that it was a childhood. That's my fam. My dad's from Uruguay, and my grandparents, and they always used to follow Peñarol. So it was actually a childhood dream to actually sign with them. And as I said, like even putting the jersey on the first time to actually trial with them was such a special moment. And then the day that, obviously Paolo Montero was the actual coach at the time who wanted to sign me. He signed me, but yeah, but being in such a big club like that, it was one of the highlights of my career, obviously. But yeah, it was lovely to be around, the facilities, the people, and even just walking on the streets, you'd see, people wearing that jersey. And I was lucky enough to be actually playing, within that institute. So yeah.
While you were there, you went out on loan to the second division at a club called CANADIANS.C. You guys had some pretty good form, even leading up to a promotion playoff, which you sadly lost. What was that whole experience at that club like?
It was obviously a whole different experience from Peñarol in this terms of facility wise and infrastructure and the way that, it was just a new club, so no one really knew who they were. But I kind of wanted to get game time, in a professional club in the first grade, in which I did. I think I played, maybe nearly 30 games or something, 27 games, and in the season. And yeah, we were lucky enough to get to the playoff, to one of the playoff finals, and we missed out, on 2 leg games. I think we lost 2-1 maybe. But it was a great experience, to be playing in Uruguay, in a different country, in a professional league and second division, and week in, week out. It was good. And as I said, it's quite different, from where I was at Peñarol, but at least I was getting professional and first grade game time, which kind of gave me a bit of confidence.
When you come back to Australia, you sign with Rockdale. Now, to say it was a successful stint is a bit of an understatement. Player of the year in 2 out of 3 seasons. What was the key to your success at Rockdale?
I think just the fact that the club is Rockdale is a good club, and I had Paul Reed as coach there, and there was a lot of good players around me. So you were assessed. We had Dylan McAllister the first year he was in the A League, and I just felt like the team and that were just working hard and enjoying, and I felt like that I could just be myself, you know what I mean? And the credit to the coaching staff and all the players around me, I kind of had a free role, and I could do what I wanted and things like that, and I felt that was a key to why I did so well.
We just spoke about you being on loan in the second division of Uruguay. Since Australia doesn't have a second division, the NPL's kind of seen as like the second division. How would you compare the Uruguayan second division to the NPL in terms of quality?
It's a different type of football. I feel like in the NPL, obviously, as infrastructure rise and that, you could probably consider it to be superior to the second division in facility wise and things like that, because you got some good fields and things, stadiums, like Wynn Stadium and things like that, whereas in Uruguay second division sometimes you're playing on fields that aren't the best, but the quality of plays, there's a lot of second division players in Uruguay that use it as a catapult to go elsewhere, and they're on loan from big clubs like Peñarol and Nacional. So I feel like technically wise, and maybe there's a little bit more passion, in Uruguayan football, So, and I feel like, but Australian wise, I think there's more physical, more kind of physical and faster game. You know what I mean? Bit more, whereas Uruguay is a lot more technical, and a bit more tactical, whereas Australia's is quite more, physical, even though in Uruguay they're very physical as well, but I feel like more of a fitness kind of game in Australia,
There's been a lot of talk in Australian football lately about the possibility of a real second division happening. Do you believe realistically that, is feasible?
I think it needs to be done, I don't know how it could be done or the logistics side of things, but I feel like there's a lot of players in the NPL, and as you can see now at FFA Cup, that the gap has shortened. You see that NPL clubs are beating A-League clubs, or A-League clubs are only winning by, barely. So there's a lot of NPL clubs that are definitely able to play against these A-League clubs. Logistically, I'm not sure whether, they could, but I know that there's a lot of players in the NPL that could easily make that step up, or easily, play in a second division. I think it needs to be done. There's been a lot of talk about it, and, I think it's necessary for Australian football to grow as well.
So you moved from Rockdale to Brunei. How did that move come about?
Yeah, so after my third year at Rockdale, and as you mentioned, I thought, obviously I thought I was doing well as well at the time. It was quite disappointing that no A-League club, could even give me a trial. So I started messaging agents that I had in Uruguay, or and that have contacted me previously for certain things, and I just started messaging them with my recent video, with the FFA Cup was a bit better than just getting NPL videos against Sydney FC, so it kind of looked good. And I put a resume out there, and then one agent got back to me, and he said, the one that I used to deal with in Uruguay, said, look, you can go and trial in Brunei. I said, oh, Brunei, I didn't even know, where it was or anything. So, and they were playing in the Singapore Premier League, and I said to him, oh, look, let's give it a crack. I said, look, I'll pay, I just want to be, prior to that, I said, I want to play football. I'll pay for my tickets, accommodation, just get me a trial anyway. Because I knew it'd be hard to just get a straight transfer. And he got me this trial, and I paid for my flights and accommodation. And I thought I was going to be trialing with the club with, maybe 3 or 4 trialers, but it ended up being like an open trial. So there was like 30 maybe, or maybe 25 players from all over the world: Africa, England, Argentina, Ukraine, Russia, Italy, Brazil, and they're all staying in the same hotel. We went out and just played 11v11, like when you're in under 12s, and I was a bit surprised. And they could only pick 3 foreigners, right? So and I could only trial 1 week out of the 2, because then I had a trial at Tampa Bay in United States in the 2nd division in the USL. So I could only do the 1 week. I said, look, I got to go to the States to trial at this other club. And yeah, luckily enough, as I arrived, so we did the 11 games and all that. And the coach said, look, you've been doing well, keep going the way you're going. All right. In front of the Crown Prince, who's the owner of the club. So he makes the final decision at the end. So then and then whatever that the week finished, I flew to Australia. I think I stayed about 8 hours and then straight to United States. And then, and then as I was at the States trying with Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Rowdies, they asked if, they said to me, look, you want a contract, but then I weighed up the options with Brunei and Tampa Bay, and it just, I thought Southeast Asia would be a good avenue for me to go, and I decided to take that.
When you first moved to Brunei, was there anything that was a bit of a culture shock for you?
It was a little bit difficult, I wouldn't say it wasn't too bad, I kind of can adapt quite well. Like, my time from Australia when I moved to Uruguay and things like that, and I traveled a bit. So there wasn't anything too major. Just like, I feel like that sometimes, the Bruneian lads, they're very family orientated. So it was very hard, me being, there by myself to try and, hang out with the lads or something like that, because after that we wouldn't even, so that was probably the most difficult part, just not having, the friends around or the people around to hang out. Like, I got along well with the other defender, the English lads, so that was about it. But culturally, they're very, they're not strict, but they're very opening, to other cultures as well, you know what I mean? So there's not much, there. So yeah, it's good though.
So after your stint in Brunei, you were set to sign for VELEZ in Spain, but that move kind of fell through. What happened there?
Yeah, so after Brunei, I decided not to renew my contract in Brunei, opting to see if I could get something better, right? Not better, but in a different league, to see if I can get something in different experience. So, and because we won the league and that, and then COVID struck, and I was in Australia at the time, and I was still with a bit of faith that something was still going to pop up. And then I think it was around May, June. I think there was this offer from Spain, 3rd division, and they said, VELEZ, and I was tossing it up, and I said, you know what, I'll sign. So I signed the actual contract, and then again, once I had to do the paperwork with the visa and things like that, they were waiting. We had a set date to get there and things like that. But waiting, and at the end of the day, it was just the paperwork was delaying from the Spanish end. The government, because of coronavirus and things like that. And then when that piece of paper got back to here, the Australian end, there was a lot of things to do. So by the time the process was happening, the season was about to start. And I spoke with the president of the club, and he said, look, he says, can we just, what do you think? He's like, we need a midfielder to start the season, and we don't know how long this is going to take, And I said, okay, look, I'm not going to, leave you guys in the air like that. I said, we'll mutually terminate. So I didn't even step foot or nothing. So, but look, that would have been a great opportunity for me to go to Europe and things like that. And they actually got promoted. So it's a bit of a bummer. But anyway, it's part of football. I'm happy where I am now, So, yeah.
You're now back in Asia, in Singapore. How are you liking that so far?
Look, Singapore's completely different, to Brunei, but obviously both beautiful countries. But I'm enjoying my time here at Singapore. It's a new challenge. I came here knowing that it was going to be a different challenge because Tanjong Pagar is a new club. It's only its second year back from a long layoff of a few years. So they had to start from zero really. And it's been difficult result wise, but I think we're progressing. And there's a lot of improvement. And I think that we're working towards something that's going to be in a positive way. There's not you can see the progress happening. So now it's just about getting results. Football wise, we're playing some good football and we're getting a few good results that people kind of think where we can't do it, but we just believe in ourselves and but at the moment it's been a great experience and I'm enjoying it.
You've been in Asia for a few seasons now. How would you describe the football culture in Asia compared to Australia?
I feel like here in Asia, obviously, well, here in Singapore, there's just a lack of people following their local league, the Singapore league. You see a lot of people out on the streets with Liverpool, Man United jerseys everywhere, but yet they don't follow the local league, which, I feel like, is a little bit sad because sometimes, obviously now with now crowd, you can't have crowds at the game, but prior to that, it was hard for them. But, I feel like that is what's lacking here. But with Australian football, quality wise, I think, Singapore has some very, very good players, some very good players that could probably play in the A-League and things like that. And it's growing and there's a lot of money getting invested now. There's a big club, Lion City, which Aurelio Vidma was coaching at prior, but there's still some room to grow, but I feel like Australia now doing quite well. The A-League is quite strong. There's a lot of people and leagues and people in other countries talking about the A-League. Whereas Singapore is quite new, and I feel like it just needs that more improvement to get to that level.
I mentioned at the start of the interview you're a bit of a cult icon in Australia. One thing that's a little bit iconic is your goal celebration. Is there any sort of backstory behind that?
Oh yeah, the goal celebration. So you're just flattering me, but I wouldn't say a cult icon in Australia. Maybe in the NPL or Rockdale, but the goal celebration. So it was funny because before my trial at Brunei, and I think I was at Palm Beach or something, and I was just like, I need a goal celebration before I go to Brunei. I just signed, and we were just talking about how I played in Uruguay and how I've been all over, playing football, and I played for Peñarol, in the reserves. That was my childhood club and all that. And one of my mates was like, mate, your life's been a little bit crazy, you know what I mean? It's a bit crazy. And he said, why don't you just celebrate like that? And I said, you know what? Might as well give it a go, So after he said that, I just did it once or twice, and now it's just stuck, you know what I mean? So yeah.
One of the biggest moments in Australian football history was November 11th, 2005, when Australia beat Uruguay in penalties to go to the World Cup. You being Uruguayan Australian, how was that moment for you?
To be honest, it was a very because 2005, I never had been to Uruguay. I didn't speak Spanish at that time. I followed, obviously, World Cups, when Uruguay qualified, and, you watch, and I had Forlan jerseys and I had Recoba jerseys, but I never had been to Uruguay. So at that stage, I think Australia hadn't qualified since 1974, wasn't it? And so I really wanted Australia to win, and Australia, I was at the game, obviously, I was at the game, so I went to the game, and it was a great moment. I still obviously remember the song Land Down Under, and, Schwarzer running with his shirt off. So it was a great moment for me. But, to be honest, today I wouldn't, if you asked me if there was another game, who I'd go for, I'd probably say Uruguay, you know what I mean? I'd definitely say Uruguay. They gave me the chance to play professional football. And yeah, but and the passion and that, I kind of enjoy that a little bit more, you know what I mean? And the fact that is that I'm grateful for them for kickstarting my career, really. And yeah, but it was a great moment. It's funny when I went back to Peñarol, or when I signed with Peñarol, and that there was a few, like Montero, he was part of the squad, you know, and he was telling me a few stories. And then there was some coaches that used to go and that had to go and spy on the Australian camp. They were telling me stories about spying on the Australian camp and all that, and which players, you know, they were telling me all these stories. So, you know, it was good. It was good to hear, you know, because I went to that game and things like that.
And finally, what are your plans for the rest of 2021?
Look, at the moment, you know, obviously my contract ends in December at the end of the season here. I'm quite happy here. Hopefully, I can do enough to either get a new contract or see what else is happening. But at the moment, just knuckle down and keep trying to, you know, try and get some results and probably banging a few more goals and get a few more assists. So that's what, you know, obviously my main aim is to win games, but, you know, if I can help by grabbing an assist or a goal here and there, you know, that'll be a lot better as well.
Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate it, mate. You know, thanks for having us. And, you know, it's always good to have people following, you know, and getting the football, you know, word out to everyone. So, you know, thanks for having me.